A Houston voter has become the face of Texas voter suppression tactics as communities across the state endured ridiculously long voter lines last year on primary day, Super Tuesday, especially in diverse Harris County, home to Houston. Hervis Rogers went viral for waiting more than 6 hours to vote at an historically black college in the city. He spoke to reporters on his way out.
I want to get my vote in, to voice my opinion, and I wasn't going to let nothing stop me. So I waited it out. It's like the way it was going, like it was set up for me to walk away.
He's a great example of a person exercising his civic duty by any means necessary. Well, now Texas Republican Attorney General Ken Paxton, who himself is being investigated by the state bar for his role in pushing the big lie with his lawsuit against 4 battleground states to try and overturn the election, that Ken Paxton, had Hervis Rogers arrested and is prosecuting him for casting his ballot. Rogers is charged with 2 counts of knowingly voting illegally, second-degree felonies with a possible sentence of 20 years in prison on each count. His bail was set at a staggering $100,000. When he voted, Rogers was a few months shy of the end of his parole for a burglary conviction in the 1990s. Under Texas law, the formerly incarcerated are prohibited from voting until their parole ends. But Rogers' attorney from the ACLU of Texas says he didn't know that he was ineligible to vote. The nonprofit Bail Project put up the $100,000 to bail him out, but he now faces the possibility of decades in prison for voting, as opposed to the, say, 5 years probation that a Pennsylvania man received for admittedly voting for the disgraced former president using his dead mother's name. Ken Paxton defended Rogers' arrest in a tweet claiming, "I prosecute voter fraud everywhere we find it." But Paxton seems to only find it in certain communities. A recent study found that nearly 3/4 of Paxton's voter fraud prosecutions have been brought against Black and Latino defendants. Because, of course. Joining me now is Andre Segura, legal director for the Texas ACLU. This case is shocking and horrifying, but let's just clarify a couple of things. Hervis Rogers, to me, it seems like if he was admittedly and knowingly breaking the law and voting illegally, wouldn't have given a TV interview. So, your thoughts?
That's right. And he certainly would have waited over 6 hours to vote. He was the last one in line. He might have been the last one in the entire state of Texas to vote. And, you know, just stepping back, we often talk about suppression of voting rights in hypotheticals. But what's happening to Mr. Rogers is real, and it should cause alarm to all of us. He really thought he was doing the right thing, trying to get out there and fulfill his civic duty, as you saw in that wonderful video of him. And now instead, almost a year and a half later, he's arrested by undercover officers outside of his home in Houston, taken to a jail an hour north from his house, put a bail amount of $100,000, an amount that most people, certainly Mr. Rogers, couldn't afford, and was held there for 4 days, not knowing what was going to happen to him. And for what? At worst, an innocent mistake. And what we know is that he truly believed that he was doing the right thing. So this should really cause concern to all of us.
All of this feels very Jim Crow, to be honest with you. Persecuting this man and threatening him with 40 years in prison, picking this black man who made a high-profile case for himself on television for why it's so important to vote and having, put his life back together. Even the fact that he's being prosecuted in Montgomery County, which is not the county where he actually lives. Explain how it is legal to move him to a different county, which presumably is a more red, conservative, white county.
Right. Well, the legality of that is something that we'll be reviewing closely. A current state law allows the attorney general to bring a prosecution in a neighboring county or in the Austin area. But of course, it's odd that he's not being prosecuted in the county in which he voted or in the county in which he lives. And just to make this real, he has to now go up frequently an hour north when he has no car, no way of getting up. This is hard for anyone. It's an inconvenience. And it certainly raises speculation as to why this is happening there.
This case reminds me very much of the Crystal Mason case, in which the book was also thrown at this young woman who voted. She cast a provisional ballot. She got 5 years in prison. This feels like black Texans and brown Texans are having the book thrown at them by prosecutors like Mr. Paxton to send a message. Would I be wrong in viewing it that way, to send a message to other black voters?
You've seen a pattern by Attorney General Paxton and his office of trying to make a case for widespread voter fraud when we know that that's not real. And so this is part and parcel of that. He's focusing his resources, which we think is a complete waste of resources. We represent Ms. Mason as well, and the same issue there is the issue here. It's two people who believe that they were honestly doing the right thing. No one would risk their livelihood, that of their families, to go vote, and no one should have to. We should make voting safe and easy. And right now we have Texas legislators trying to make voting scarier and riskier for Texans and really trying to intimidate people from going to the polls and expressing their voice.